We've got a rousing good featurette for you this morning, and it is called Virtual Reality Featurette. Last week, we shared that one of the big questions in understanding the meaning of life is, where were we before we became human? This question is based on the assumption that we are eternal beings and that eternity includes all of the past as well as all of the future. And this brings to light that most Christian denominations do not share this belief. Most teach that souls are created at some point between conception and birth. And there's a reason for this. It started with the doctrine of the pre-existence of the soul. The doctrine of the pre-existence of the soul, that souls exist before being conceived as humans. This was an accepted part of Christian thought in the past, and it was removed from the Christian canon, brace yourselves for this, at the Second Ecumenical Council in Constantinople in 553 AD, which is now called CE. The doctrine of the pre-existence of the soul was declared heresy, and those who continued to preach it were deemed heretics. Now, believing that the soul does not exist before its human manifestation resulted in several controversial ideas. One, it excluded reincarnation as a possibility, because reincarnation is based on the idea that our souls live from lifetime to lifetime and in between lifetimes and before we're born into a lifetime. It also outlawed termination of pregnancy, because the idea that a soul is actually created sometime in the womb brought a whole different meaning to what would happen if you terminated a pregnancy. But if you believe that souls are eternal, they exist before birth and after death and forevermore, then it has a whole different understanding involved. Humankind had become entrapped in sense consciousness, and it became more and more difficult for us to remember that we are truly spiritual beings having a human experience. Our higher selves, however, do provide many clues for us. It's like they leave a trail of breadcrumbs that lead us into awakening. Now, two of the most popular phenomenon that we could consider these kinds of breadcrumbs are the 11:11. Many people have noticed when their clocks registered 11:11. This has been going on for years. It's been going on for 30 years that I know of. And they have read into it that it is a message from the universe. It's a message. The ones are like the gateways to the awakening. But in truth, it is a message from us to us. We have given 11:11 the significance that it has because our higher selves were leaving us a breadcrumb that there was more, and we're in a time of awakening. Another popular phenomenon is, brace yourself for this, crop circles. We have never been able to figure out where they come from and what causes them. We do know that we can't create them in our conscious minds or with our everyday tools or patterns. But according to Bashar the Sassani, crop circles are created by us. They're created at a higher level of our consciousness, and in so doing, they are giving us messages and encoded information that are going to help us move forward into the ascension process. There have been many movies like The Matrix, which present the truth to us beneath a veneer of science fiction. Today's featurette is about virtual reality programs, which are also telling us the story of our entrapped consciousness. Now, you may remember the Star Trek series, the Spaceship Enterprise had a holodeck, a holographic deck. And it was an area where the crew could go and experience different environments, like a virtual vacation. They could choose from many experiences, like swimming with the dolphins, or walking in a forest, or fighting with the gladiators in ancient Rome, going to the carnival, going on the rides. And when the program was ended, they would find themselves, in the holodeck, which was perhaps a little bit disorienting when at one moment you're totally engrossed in swimming with the dolphins, and the next moment you are in this mechanical looking technical arena that had created that reality for you, the holodeck. We have things like that going on in our world all the time now. We have the technology for it. And my brother Rick gave me an experience of this with his virtual reality equipment. There. And I had a visor on. It really didn't look that much like Darth Vader, but I had a visor on where I could see and hear instructions from the program, and I had the controller. And we went to his basement. There we go. We went to his basement, and I donned my visor and took the controls. And I had chosen the bridge of a starship for my environment. And when he turned on the program, I was surprised when I looked down at my body, especially at my hands, which were garbed in these heavy leather gauntlets. Now, Rick sat over at the side and occasionally offered guidance like, if you keep going in that direction, you will run into the water heater. One of the difficulties that I had was with the Starship control panel. The audio prompts from the virtual reality program were directing me to turn the knobs. But I had seen those big leather heavy gauntlets on my hands, and I knew that they were too large to handle these buttons. And I had several failed attempts to turn the knobs as I was being instructed to do it. Now, I asked you, were my fingers really too fat to use these controls? But the gauntlets were not even real. They were an illusion. And the controls were also an illusion. Had I created my own difficulty because of the definition I had of large leather gauntlets? And most importantly, Does this remind you of the challenges in your own life? Perhaps they are the product of the way you see things and the way you define things. Finally, I asked Rick to end the program, and I found myself in the basement. And I was a little bit disoriented. It was a kind of a rude awakening. And so I wanted to share with you that virtual reality games and experiences are calling us into awakening. They mirror the relationship between our sense consciousness and our greater consciousness. They are part of that trail of breadcrumbs that we have left for ourselves. And one day we will end the program that we are running, this reality generating program, and find out that we have never left the spiritual realm. We never left the holodeck. We never left the basement. We never left. That we have spent eons of time wandering through an unreal land of our own making. And the day that we do end that program will truly be a cause for great celebration. And thus ends the featurette. Thank you for listening. God bless you.